So, I want you to think about this for a second. In 2026, making the NBA Final Four was actually enough to get a franchise labeled as, an absolute unmitigated failure.
Right, which is just wild when you say it out loud.
It really is. I mean, let that sink in. You battle through this grueling 82-game regular season, right?
Mhm.
You survive 2 insane rounds of the playoffs. You end up as one of the last 4 teams standing in the entire world. And the immediate reaction from the basketball universe is that you need to fire your coach and blow up the roster.
Yeah, it's just a complete lack of perspective.
Exactly. So today on this deep dive, we're looking at a stack of sources that point to this growing obsession that is fundamentally breaking how we talk about basketball.
And how teams are actually built, too.
Yes, exactly. We're not talking about defensive ratings here. It's not about player development. Okay, let's unpack this. We're looking at the absolute toxicity of ring culture.
It's a phenomenal phrase for a very real, very damaging phenomenon.
All right.
We've reached a point where, the conversation around the sport has been entirely hijacked by this binary lens.
Championship or bust.
Exactly. You are either holding the Larry O'Brien Trophy in June, or your entire season, your front office strategy, your players' legacies, all of it is deemed totally worthless.
Erased.
Right. There is no middle ground anymore. And, it fundamentally misunderstands how difficult it is to win just one single game in this league, let alone 16 of them in the postseason.
And it's completely reshaping the actual landscape of the league, too. We're not just talking about angry fans on social media here.
Oh, absolutely not.
This mentality is dictating multi-million-dollar front office decisions. But before we get into the specific teams getting crushed by this, we really need to set the table.
Sure.
Why has a season without a parade suddenly become synonymous with a total disaster? I mean, structurally, 29 teams go home empty-handed every single year.
Right. The math literally demands it.
Exactly. By definition, 29 teams cannot be failures. So why does it feel like they are?
Well, to understand the shift, we really have to look at how the timeline for success has violently compressed.
Mm-hmm.
Historically, front offices had a runway. If you drafted a cornerstone player, the unspoken agreement was that you had 7 to 8 years to build around them.
You could actually let them cook.
Right. You endured the growing pains, you made incremental additions, you let the team mature.
Yeah.
I mean, Michael Jordan didn't win his first title until his 7th season.
Wow. Right.
LeBron James didn't win until his 9th. But today, executives get maybe 3 or 4 years to turn a draft pick into a finals contender.
Which is an insane expectation.
It is. And if they don't hit that completely arbitrary mark, the media pressure ramps up, the player gets restless, and the calls to tear the roster down just start getting louder.
Which naturally forces front offices into making incredibly short-sighted decisions. Let's actually look at a team feeling that exact heat right now, because the psychology of this is just fascinating.
The Detroit Pistons.
Yes, the Pistons. They have Cade Cunningham, right? A guy who looks like a legitimate, undeniable franchise engine. But the noise around them is just deafening.
Everyone is screaming at them to make a massive all-in move.
Right, to get him a co-star. It's like pulling a cake out of the oven after 10 minutes just because you're hungry.
That's a great way to put it.
You don't get a cake, you just ruin the batter.
Yeah, and that noise is exactly what makes their behavior at the 2026 trade deadline such a brilliant case study. They actually resisted ring culture.
They held off.
Right. There was immense pressure on Detroit to cash in all their future chips. But instead of throwing 3 future first-round picks at some fading superstar, they made a much smaller move.
Right. They traded Jaden Ivey for Kevin Huerter to improve their shooting.
Exactly.
Okay, but I actually have to push back on that a little
All
bit.
right, let's hear it.
I look at Cade Cunningham. The guy is facing constant double teams. He's carrying an absurd offensive load every night.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a generational talent like that, isn't it kind of front office malpractice not to go out and get him massive, undeniable help immediately?
I get why you'd say that.
Why are we celebrating them for just bringing in a role-playing shooter?
Because of the underlying mechanics of modern NBA team building. It really comes down to the new collective bargaining agreement.
The aprons.
Right? Specifically those luxury tax aprons. If you cave to the pressure and trade for a massive second star, you aren't just giving up draft picks anymore.
You're ruining your flexibility.
You are obliterating it.
Yeah.
Under the new rules, if your payroll hits that second apron, you are paralyzed.
Wow.
You can't aggregate salaries and trades. You completely lose your mid-level exception to sign free agents, and your future draft picks actually get frozen at the end of the first round.
So, it's basically like taking out a massive high-interest payday loan.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
You get the immediate cash, right? The shiny new star player. But the compounding interest just totally destroys your ability to function next month.
That is the exact mechanism. You take out the loan, and suddenly you can't afford to pay your electric bill.
Right.
In NBA terms, you can't afford a bench, so you end up relying on minimum contract players who are either, way too young to contribute or too old to stay healthy.
Which is exactly what we've seen happen to so many teams.
Right. And the reason Detroit's move is smart is that they recognize Cade needed spacing, so they acquired a career 38% three-point shooter in Harden.
They addressed the flaw without mortgaging the future.
Exactly. They fixed the structural flaw of their offense without taking out that payday loan. They kept their draft capital.
Because in the modern NBA, those rookie contracts are gold.
They're the only way you survive once your main guy signs his Supermax extension. Detroit chose the discipline of incremental growth over the absolute panic of skipping steps.
It's just wild to me how rare that discipline actually is.
Oh, it's incredibly rare.
Because if Detroit is the team refusing to take out the payday loan, we have a league full of front offices sprinting to the bank to just mortgage their houses.
Right.
Look at the Cleveland Cavaliers. They kind of represent the exact other side of this coin.
They really do.
They gave in to the pressure and made the ultimate swing by going out and trading for James Harden.
And look, we have to acknowledge that on paper, the move achieved exactly what an all-in swing is supposed to achieve.
Sure, they went for broke.
They were incredibly aggressive in reshaping that roster, and it actually got them to the 2026 Eastern Conference Finals.
Right, it did. But it's how that run ended, and more specifically, how the ending was digested by the culture that's so telling.
Yeah, the fallout.
They run into the New York Knicks, and it culminates in this absolute bloodbath of a sweep, right? Punctuated by a 37-point loss in Game 4.
A brutal way to go out.
And the second the buzzer sounds, the narrative instantly metastasizes. Nobody's sitting there saying, wow, what a great building block we made the Final Four.
No, never.
It immediately becomes an inquisition. Can Donovan Mitchell and James Harden play together? Was the trade a catastrophic failure? Who needs to be fired right now?
And that reaction right there is the purest distillation of ring culture.
Yeah.
Because reaching the Eastern Conference Finals is a monumental achievement. But the all-in move strips away any capacity for nuance.
Totally.
When you push all your chips in, the media and the fan base immediately recalibrate their expectations to championship or bust.
And when it busts, the fallout is just radioactive.
It really is.
Yeah.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, to really understand why caving to this pressure is so dangerous mechanically, we have to look at the Milwaukee Bucks.
See, the Bucks are the fascinating counter-argument here, right? Because they actually pulled it off.
They did.
They took out the massive payday loan for Jrue Holiday, they pushed their chips in, and they won the 2021 title. Every GM in the league points to Milwaukee as the justification for making that desperate move.
Right. They absolutely did win. And that championship banner is going to hang there forever. But the cost of that payday loan eventually comes due.
Always does.
What happened after 2021 is the ultimate warning sign. They became trapped by their own success.
They felt the window closing.
Exactly. They felt that championship window shrinking, so they doubled down. They chased it. They traded their remaining first-round assets to acquire Damian Lillard.
But wait, didn't they kind of have to make that trade?
Well,
I mean, if you have Giannis Antetokounmpo, and he is publicly hinting that he might not sign an extension unless the team shows commitment, your hands are tied, right?
it's definitely a tough spot.
If you lose Giannis, you lose your entire franchise. Isn't keeping your MVP worth mortgaging the future, even if it hurts later?
It's the ultimate catch-22. You have to keep your superstar happy, yes. But look at the mechanical reality of what that trade actually did to their roster.
Right.
By repeatedly trading away their draft picks, they triggered the Stepien rule, which literally prevents teams from trading consecutive future first-round picks.
Oh, wow. So they were stuck.
Completely drained their war chest.
Yeah.
They were left with zero homegrown talent. No 22-year-old wings on cheap rookie contracts who could, run the floor and defend the perimeter.
Inject some actual energy into the lineup.
Exactly.
So they just end up old, heavy, and exhausted.
Yeah.
They have these brilliant Hall of Fame talents taking up 70% of their salary cap, and the remaining roster spots are filled by veterans playing on minimum deals.
Who, frankly, can't keep up with the pace of a 7-game playoff series against a much younger team.
Right. It's just brutal.
Every all-in move casts a really long shadow. It might successfully pry open a championship window for 1 or 2 seasons, but the structural cost is that it forcibly slams the next window shut.
Because you lose your flexibility.
You lose the one thing you need most in a chaotic league. If an injury happens or if a matchup exposes a flaw in your roster, you are paralyzed.
You can't pivot.
You have no picks to attach to a trade, you have no cap space to sign a free agent, and you have no young prospects to develop. You are just completely stuck.
Man, that structural paralysis is brutal for franchises. But what I find even more compelling is how this exact same phenomenon paralyzes individual legacies, too.
Oh, absolutely.
If the system demands absolute perfection from a front office, it demands something even more unrealistic from the players.
Yeah.
And there is no better, or I guess more tragic, case study for this than James Harden.
He is the poster child for the psychological toll of ring culture.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The guy fundamentally changed the geometry of the basketball court.
He really did.
We are talking about a player who forced every defensive coordinator in the NBA to invent entirely new coverage schemes just to stop him from stepping back on the perimeter.
Yep.
MVP, multiple scoring titles, one of the most influential isolation players ever. And yet whenever his name comes up on a broadcast, all of that innovation and dominance is completely erased.
It's entirely defined by a void.
Exactly. The lack of a championship ring is the only lens through which his entire career is viewed.
It's a complete flattening of a legacy. Now, we do have to look at the data objectively here, because the criticism didn't just fall out of the sky.
Sure, fair enough.
The postseason struggles are documented. The numbers show a real statistical drop-off. In the regular season, Harden is a machine. 24 points, over 7 assists, nearly 6 rebounds a game over his career.
Incredible numbers.
But in the playoffs, those averages dip. They drop to 22 points, 6 assists, and 5 rebounds. His shooting percentages drop. The turnovers often tick up in elimination games.
But wait, why does that happen? I mean, it's not just some mystical clutch gene failing him, right?
No, not at all.
In a 7-game series, opposing teams spend a week doing nothing but scheming to take away your primary options.
Right.
The game slows down, the referees swallow their whistles, and the physical toll of isolation basketball just compounds. The numbers dip because the environment is mathematically designed to make them dip.
And that's the exact nuance that gets lost. It is entirely possible for a player to be a revolutionary all-time great, who also happens to struggle against elite playoff defenses when his usage rate is that astronomically high.
Right.
Both realities coexist. But ring culture cannot process 2 conflicting ideas at once. It demands a single sentence. It demands a binary verdict, winner or loser.
Which brings us to this incredibly powerful quote from Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, this is huge.
Mitchell shared a locker room with Harden, saw his process up close, and he vehemently pushed back against this public narrative.
What did he say exactly?
He said, "We ignore leadership, we ignore the human character of who he is, we ignore the empowerment he gives people, and we ignore his greatness in a major way." And then Mitchell delivered the absolute gut punch.
Right.
He said, "We have a ring culture society."
Mitchell is pointing a finger directly at the media and the fans there. And we really have to ask ourselves why this narrative takes hold so easily.
Why do you think it does?
Because nuance doesn't feed the algorithm.
Mm.
Explaining the complexities of the luxury tax apron or the defensive adjustments in a playoff series, that takes 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Slapping a choker label on a Hall of Famer, that takes 1 tweet.
So true.
It drives outrage, it drives engagement, and it creates endless hours of debate television. It's basically an industrialized flattening of the sport.
It's exhausting, honestly. We reduce brilliant front offices to failures for losing a Game 7, and we reduce generational talents to punchlines for not having a parade.
It's a trap.
So, having diagnosed this disease, how do we actually treat it? If you are a general manager tasked with running an NBA franchise right now, how do you actually operate?
How do you survive?
Yeah. How do you survive in a landscape that is screaming at you to either win the Larry O'Brien trophy today or burn your own building down?
The survival mechanism really comes down to understanding the critical difference between 2 operational states: pressure and opportunity.
Okay, unpack that.
On the surface, the actions they produce might look similar. A trade is made, a player is signed, but the underlying mechanics are entirely different.
How so?
Pressure is reactive. Pressure is a front office looking at a second-round exit, hearing the fans booing and deciding, we need to make a massive splash just to save our jobs and win the press conference tomorrow.
Oh, it's like going grocery shopping when you're starving.
Yeah,
You just grab all the expensive junk food because you're panicking, or like day trading on margin because you took a heavy loss yesterday.
right.
Pressure is logging into your brokerage account at 3 a.m. and buying a volatile stock, just hoping it spikes so you can feel good immediately. You might get lucky, but over a 10-year timeline, that strategy bankrupts you.
That is the perfect analogy. Desperate, pressure-driven trades are the margin calls of the NBA. They expose you to catastrophic risk.
And what's opportunity then? Having a meal plan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Opportunity is completely proactive.
Yeah.
Opportunity is walking into the offseason with a strict valuation of your assets. It says, we found a trade that addresses a specific mechanical flaw on our roster. It fits the age timeline of our franchise player. And crucially, it doesn't require us to leverage our next decade of draft picks.
Which brings us right back to Detroit and Kevin Herter.
Exactly.
They didn't day trade. They executed their long-term investment strategy. They ignored the panic.
Precisely. Championships in the modern NBA are rarely built by the team that panics the loudest.
Right.
They are built by the teams with the iron discipline to endure the criticism of a disappointing playoff exit without immediately trading 3 first-round picks to patch a leak.
Yeah, I mean, the Denver Nuggets didn't panic when they suffered playoff injuries.
Nope.
The Boston Celtics didn't blow up Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown when they lost in the finals. They stayed the course.
So the antidote to ring culture is essentially institutional patience.
Right.
We have to allow these teams and these individual players the grace to fail, learn, and iterate without immediately declaring them a lost cause.
We really do.
And I think that leaves us with a final thought to really chew on as we watch the rest of the season unfold.
Let's hear it.
Ring culture has trained our brains to evaluate everything by asking one single question. Did you win the ring?
Right.
But in a league with this much parity, where the talent pool is deeper than it has ever been in the history of the sport, and the margins for error are razor thin, maybe that's fundamentally the wrong question.
What should we be asking?
The real question we should be asking of general managers constructing rosters and of star players defining their legacies is, did you build something structurally sound enough to keep giving yourself a legitimate chance? Did you build a machine that can contend for a decade? Because the truth is, the ball bounces weirdly. Injuries happen. Matchups swing series. The ultimate measure of success in the modern NBA isn't just capturing the ring. It's surviving the chaos long enough to keep knocking on the door.
Thank you for listening to. Please comment, like, subscribe if you're on YouTube. Spotify, please leave a 5-star review. It will help the channel grow. Until next time, please check our previous episodes.